last, 6 months, and everything is different, everything is stressful. And so finding that time to have some quiet and to regain my senses has been really precious. So I've really enjoyed this. And Rose is here as a guest of Lincoln. And during our session, we'll talk a little bit more about Calm and how Lincoln and Calm have partnered to bring Calm and meditation to Lincoln owners, not just new buyers, but people who have owned a Lincoln for, I think, the last 10 years. So it's a really amazing offer. And with that, Rose, welcome. And I'm going to let you take it over and for our morning meditation.
Thank you so much, Scotty. And so wonderful to hear about your experience with Calm over the past few weeks. Certainly, I'm sure organizing this conference it comes in handy to get a little calmer. And yeah, as Scotty mentioned, I think all of us these days are, there's so much uncertainty in the world, and I think we're all really having our minds pulled in many different directions a lot of the time. So with this short mindfulness meditation practice, we'll just be bringing our minds back right here. And we had this wonderful beginning with Abby, a nice basis for our bodies. And we'll just, in this meditation practice, coming into this moment, being present for whatever we're experiencing right now. So, you know, if you notice yourself being a little restless or anxious during the practice, no problem. This is just a way to check in with our mind states and our mood and just see where we're at today. So to begin, just start by finding a comfortable position, seated if that works for you, just a way you can feel comfortable but also alert, and closing the eyes. And just starting to settle into the body. Feeling any points of contact with the chair, or if you're sitting on the floor. Maybe you feel the soles of the feet on the ground, or the support of the chair beneath you. Just feeling the gentle pull of gravity on the body as you settle into this moment. Now taking a few deeper breaths. Inhaling, feeling your body expand with fresh oxygen. Exhale, settling in right here, right now. And again, inhaling, expanding, and exhaling, arriving in this moment. Now letting the breath return to its natural rhythm. Just scanning through the body. Noticing if there's any areas of extra tension, and gently softening if possible. Relaxing through the face, softening the muscles around the eyes, relaxing the forehead. Softening the jaw. Letting the shoulders feel heavy. And letting the hands just rest gently in the lap. Nowhere else to be, nothing else to do. Just settling in here. Now just taking a moment to check in with yourself. Noticing your mood, any thoughts or emotions that are present. Maybe there's some agitated energy from earlier this morning. or some excitement about the upcoming events. Just noticing whatever's present and letting it be. Now bringing the attention to the feeling of the breath. Maybe it's the feeling of the breath coming in and going out, the nostril or upper lip, or the rise and fall of the chest or abdomen. Or maybe it's the feeling of the whole body breathing. Following the breath all the way through the inhale and all the way through the exhale. Breathing in, breathing out. If the mind wanders off, planning or remembering, no problem. That's what minds do. Just acknowledging it has wandered, and gently bring your attention back to the breath. Breathing in, breathing out. Now, if you'd like, you can bring your hand to your heart. Just feeling the warmth at the point of contact. Just noticing the sensation of the hand on the heart. And feeling that contact. If you'd like, you can take a moment to just appreciate this time we've set aside to get quieter. Just to arrive here in this moment together. Knowing that at any time throughout the day, we can bring our attention back to the breath and continue to open to the experience of this event, to the experience of this moment right now. And letting the hand come down. And as we close this practice, just taking another deep breath. And opening the eyes when you're ready. And thank you all for joining in that moment together.
Thank you, Rose. It is such an honor to have you here with us, and thank you for helping us to start our day with by setting our mind right and reminding us that it's okay to stop and take a breath. And I think that is something that we forget, especially when there's so many things going on in our lives. And the power to just remember that and then do it is so important.
You said it. It's always there for you. The breath, just one breath can really help. So
Right. It really can. It helps you.
And I hope that you all enjoy the rest of the events. It's such a really amazing conference you put together here. So,
well, thank you. We are excited to bring everyone together today and to focus on not so much the go, go, go things that conferences, that these virtual conferences have been doing, but the things that really are important to us, the things that matter most. So thank you so much, Rose.
thank you.
I'm excited to introduce our next panel, Kim Marie Evans, who you might know as Luxury Travel Mom, Seema Bardwaj from Lincoln, and Lori Rady. She's a career coach and yogi and mindfulness expert. And so I'm going to turn it over to Kim Marie Evans. Kim Marie, take it away.
Hi, everyone. This is such a fabulous conference. I feel so peaceful right now. I don't know if I've ever felt this peaceful in the morning. And what's exciting about this conference from a lifestyle perspective and also bringing in the automotive is working with Lincoln. And I want to introduce Seema, who spent 20 years at Ford and is newly at Lincoln, and she's in charge of strategy and services. And I was trying to explain what Lincoln is doing to the men in my family the other night. And they were mocking me a bit because I said, you don't understand. This is different than all the other SUVs. The way that they've been designed from the ground up, and they're looking at it from a lifestyle perspective. One of the things that you've worked on, Seema, is a partnership with Calm. And you're going to talk about other partnerships that are making this brand more than just a way to get from point A to point B. And they said at the end of my explanation that obviously I had drank the Kool-Aid, which is absolutely true. I have. And Lori is the perfect co-host, the other side of this. She's sort of my idol. She likes fast cars and yoga. And she's a business coach, a mindfulness expert, but also really understands the ins and outs of automobiles. And you can find her and the many reviews at Rady's Rails, right? On YouTube. I've watched a lot of them.
Oh, yeah, Rady's Rides.
Rady's Rides. Why did I say rails? Because you're on the rails.
That's right.
I think that's what I was thinking. So this segment that we're doing is about finding sanctuary and combining finding sanctuary every day and finding sanctuary in the place we spend most of our time, which is in our cars. I think the survey says we spend 17,600 minutes in our car every year on average. It's a lot of minutes. And I don't find that my time in a car is necessarily relaxing. And so we're going to start with, the idea of a stress-free bubble, which I think might not exist, a completely stress-free bubble, but I wanted to talk about where we can find those places. So at the beginning of, this quarantine that we're all in, I turned my closet into my sanctuary. And everybody thought I was crazy. I put a blow-up bed in there, a lock on the door. I've got candy in a drawer. Everything I need is in my closet. And I thought I was nuts until I saw a lot of celebrities and moms online also in their closet. But you can't take your closet everywhere with you. So for Lori, question for you, when you're working with clients or students, what are the techniques that you teach them to create that stress-free bubble when they can't be locked in their closet?
You make a great point, Kim, because we can't take our closets with us. And as much as we'd like to have, I don't know about you all, but I would like to have Rose with me wherever I go to walk me through that wonderful meditation. And then Abby there with me at any moment to help me out and get up off the floor. We can't take all of these things with us. So what are we going to do in a moment of need when we feel the wall sort of pushing in or the pressure? And Rose gave it away. The best way psychologically to get in the right mindset is through the breathing, taking a deep conscious breath. And the fascinating thing, Kim, is most of us breathe wrong. We'll take a quick, shallow breath and then and we think, gosh, that didn't do anything. That meditation and yoga stuff doesn't work for me. And the key is learning how to take a deep breath. It's almost like you're breathing through a straw, and it's a constricted throat breath, so that you can take a steady stream of air in through the nostrils, fill up the lungs, and then exhale even slower through the nose to sort of relax and tap into the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, so that you can take a deep breath wherever you go.
Like that. I know about the breath because I do yoga and the Ujjayi breath and all of that, but that is something I could do sitting at a stoplight.
That's right.
And Seema, we're talking about creating space, right? Besides closets.
Yeah.
And this is what you are doing with Lincoln.
Right.
Talk to us about how Lincoln is creating sanctuary.
Yeah, so this is really, thank you everyone, by the way, for joining. And I want to apologize. I am having a real life moment that I'm really happy that Rose gave me a moment of peace, because my neighbor's tree is coming down as we speak. So it might be loud. And if I change into a headphone, I just want everyone to know we're having real time anxiety moments that I'm trying to counterbalance. So we will see how well I do. So if it is getting a little loud, please tell me and I'll switch my, my audio. But really excited to be here from the Lincoln team. Services and Partnership Strategies is my title. And what we've really been doing, and a lot of people have been asking us this, is like, oh, is this because of COVID? But no, the Lincoln brand, a few years ago, we really understood what we were about and what our brand essence is. So what area do we feel that we could credibly and authentically sort of offer in terms of to our clients? What is that area of space we would spend, with you as a brand? And it's really come down to this essence of revitalization or rejuvenation, and physical and mental well-being being such an important part of that. So even before the environment we're in right now, this has been something we've been working on it not only from like the physical elements of the inside of the vehicle, but now also with the mental elements and the work we're doing with the Calm partnership. So it's been a really great way of showing sort of not only the physical well-being and how we can help people feel better as they're riding in a car. My brother's actually a physical therapist, and he will tell you sitting for long hours at a time is probably the worst thing you can do for your body. So any other ergonomic things that you can do or that can be done for you through the seating, through anything in the cabin is super duper helpful. So I feel very kind of passionate about it because it's something I've been thinking about personally, and now I get to work on the brand that's bringing it to life and manifesting it in every day.
Talking about the physical aspects, right, of the automobile, and talking to you, Lori, right, as a yogi and a professional, I went through several years where I would drive a lot and then my back would go out. Like old lady, bend over, couldn't stand up again. And I know that it was tied to the driving. And in my head, I thought, well, I'm just driving too much. But I don't think that's it. What can you be doing when you're driving so that you're not hurting yourself?
So I don't know if you wanted me to go first, Lori. But
yes, I would love to hear from both of you.
Perfect. Okay, Lori, if you don't mind, I'll just give you some ideas of some of the things we're doing in the cabin that can really help with that sort of physical element. So really from a design and feature perspective, we have 4 key areas that we really think about. We have sound, which is actually very soothing and can really help people sort of get into a certain mindset, music, things of that nature, but even just the chimes, you think about the sounds you can hear that are repetitive, that can really kind of drive you crazy. Those things should be soothing and have a certain sort of vibration to it. So we've actually worked with the Detroit Symphony Orchestra to create really sort of reverberating chimes and make it less annoying from an alert sound mindset. The design of ergonomics, as we were just talking about. So we have 30-way seats. It's a perfect position seating that minimizes stress, not only in the shoulders and the neck, which is where we can hold a lot of that when you're sitting, but also have these active motion massaging seats that help with your sort of lumbar and your back cushion. So we're really doing this rolling pattern. So it's like sitting in a massage seat. Sometimes I'll go get my nails done. They have these great massage seats, right? This is doing that for you in your car. So counterbalancing sort of some of that physical sort of crunching of the body by giving you this way to reduce muscle fatigue. And so that's what some of the physical elements are that we have in the vehicle.
And Lori, when you're talking to clients about, you know, say driving a lot, drive to the mountains every weekend with kids and dogs and drive back. So spending a lot of time in a car, what can I be doing differently in the way that I'm physically in the vehicle to stop hurting myself so much?
A great question. And there's so many wonderful features that Lincoln has that can help you, but the first step is really recognizing how you're feeling, right? We might not realize that our back muscles are spasming or even just clenching a little bit. And so we don't think to turn on the massage seat until maybe it's a little bit too far into the pain. And so Abby really helped us out with that in the yoga practice this morning when she was talking about how anxiety can manifest itself into the body. So, I mean, think about that example for a second, Kim Marie, how you're, packing everything up, going to the mountains, all the stuff that's running through your mind just to get ready to get in the car to go. And so you take all that anxiety with you and you get in the car, and now the muscles are reacting. And so really the first step, if you can take that deep breath and then just pay attention to how you're feeling, and also notice the thoughts. If it kind of feels like, I don't know how old all y'all are here, but when I was a kid, we had TVs with the static. And if your mind feels like that static on a television where you don't even know what you're thinking, it's just static thoughts all over the place, that's a really good indicator that the dog's walking you instead of you walking the dog, right? So it really helps to take that breath, turn on the massage seats, use some of the features and benefits that are in the car to help you stay present in the moment, and that way you're going to enjoy it, and when you get out you're going to feel a lot better.
That's really good advice. And I think that a lot of us don't prepare to be successful when we're, whether it's a 14-hour road trip or we're just driving carpool.
Yeah.
For me, it's always static. You get in, it's like you're on fire. And there's so much going on.
And most of the time we're living our day through our subconscious. It's fascinating. Truly only about 5% of our day is lived in our conscious mind. And so 95% of the time you're running on your habits, right? And so this is where bringing mindfulness in, Rose was talking about mindfulness. We have to train ourselves to be more mindful. And really what that means is paying attention on purpose to what we're thinking and how we're feeling.
Seema, I'd like to talk a little bit about what you've put in the vehicles to help with this. I'm going to tell one more story. I'm sorry, I've got a lot of stories, but I recently had a really bad car wreck. Mm-hmm. And I haven't had a car wreck. I don't even remember the last one, but my brain was on static. Mm-hmm. And I was sort of in a state of chaos. And when my husband came to help me get the car towed, he said, did you even hit the brakes? And I said, nope. I hit a car. I didn't know I was hitting it until I hit it. Mm-hmm. That is how not conscious of what I was doing at that moment. And it really terrified me. I wasn't on the phone. Mm-hmm. I wasn't in my head.
Yeah.
And when I went and tested the Revel speaker system the other day, one of the things that I noticed, I haven't had a chance to drive the car yet, I'm looking forward to that, is that the display is up here.
Right.
Which is really nice. It's up where it's at eye line and it's big enough that I can see it. So I feel like there have to be intentional ways that you have designed the cabin so that we are paying attention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great point, because I said there was four key features or four key things in the vehicle, and talked a little bit about ergonomics and sound, but design was another key element. So how do we sort of create these horizontal spaces and horizontal design that accentuates the space but gives you a feeling of airiness. So the biggest thing you want to do is go into the vehicle and not feel cooped and cramped, so that it is kind of open, but at the same time also having sort of a very panoramic view of everything in front of you and what you can see, and being very easily not having to move your head around a lot, but maybe just moving and darting the eyes a little bit. And that keeps your attention engaged without feeling like you're getting distracted. And I think that's a really key design element, and we're thoughtful about the way we do that and thinking about how we can continue to give you that design in the vehicle that gives, again, that sense of sanctuary, that sense of just being a sort of in a warm greeting. You know, there's a welcome embrace that we also call that. It includes lighting and a lot of different sort of features that says you're entering in as though you would be entering my home. And when you walk in my home, you're welcome into the home with usually a bite to eat, maybe probably a glass of wine, and then you're instantly feeling like you're part of my home and part of my family. And we want to feel that. We want you to feel that when you're getting into the vehicle as well. So that welcome embrace is really important as well as part of a feature design.
And if we're not all lucky enough to be driving one of these fabulous automobiles, which actually in the video I made, I panned around, I'm like, I've been on private jets that were not as nice as that car. Lori, if, you know, in any car that you're in, or you're on a bicycle, or you're moving through life, how, if we're spending only 5% of our day conscious, now I know why I hit the car and never saw it.
Yep.
I was clearly not conscious at all.
Right.
What can we do to ensure, especially when we're driving, because that's a high stakes mistake.
Right.
Nobody was hurt, except my daughter's car and my pride,
Right.
and probably my insurance. But what tips do you give to people to be in your conscious mind?
Yeah, you know, it's whenever I'm working with my coachees, I find myself, you know, having to break through some addictive thought patterns, because that's typically the challenge, right? When we want to make any change, we have our behaviors, our thoughts, our emotions, which are all basically memories and become habitual patterns that we just repeat again tomorrow. And so then we wonder, why isn't anything different? And when 90% of what we're thinking is what we thought yesterday. And so it comes down to our habits, right? You know, starting with some simple things that you can hold yourself accountable to, like a 1-minute meditation every morning before you get going. Now, I know a lot of folks have kids, but for those who have the luxury of getting in their car, before you take off, before you turn the ignition on, if it's a nice day, or maybe turn the ignition on, just sitting there for 1 minute and practicing the breathing exercise that we learned from Rose, that's going to help form new neural pathways and new habits toward consciousness, so that you are more aware more of the time, and you can start sort of teaching people how to treat you. That's another thing I work with my clients on, is helping other people to stay in their lane as well, right? By teaching people how to treat us. So it all starts with that awareness and that idea of forming new habits.
I love that thought of forming new habits, especially around how we start our day, which, you know, a lot of our day starts with getting in the car
and rushing around.
And it's a lot of chaos. And I haven't meditated in a long time. Actually, the last time I meditated was in the Blue Lagoon in Iceland, right before the world shut down. And I felt like such a jerk for being angry about this. They gave me this like floaty helmet, like these floaty pads. And then I was just supposed to lay there in the Blue Lagoon, which does not suck, and meditate. And it was a guy leading the class. He didn't guide us. He didn't tell us how to meditate. I was just supposed to lay on my back and meditate. And I got so angry at being forced to try to meditate that I pulled my neck. And people were like, what happened? I'm like, I had to meditate in the Blue Lagoon. And I was so angry about it. And I think I haven't meditated since then to this morning with Rose. people ask me, how do you stay thin? I'm like, coffee and anxiety. And the idea of starting a day with a different pattern is really appealing. Starting with the Calm app.
Well, Kim Marie, good habits are really hard to form and easy to break, and bad habits are just the opposite. Super easy to form and really hard to break. So it really helps to start with something simple. I like to equate meditation in the same vein as brushing your teeth. You wouldn't skip brushing your teeth, would you? Right? Because that's not healthy at all. And so that's how we want to start thinking about the importance of meditation. And if we could just simplify it to what Rose did, just 1 or 2 minutes a day, you're going to get tremendous benefit. And studies show that in as little as 2 weeks, you'll see some results.
I'd like to talk a little bit more about that, Seema, especially, Lincoln is focused on well-being.
Yeah.
And, you've brought in all of these physical aspects of sanctuary and this partnership with Calm. It seems to me, listening to Lori, that we're getting more than just feeling good. This is actually going to be a change that, tell me, if I stop with the coffee and anxiety and start with better habits, long term, what does that do to my body, my brain?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the key, is that it's not just, well-being is 2 pieces in my mind. Maybe not even just 2, more than that, but physical and mental. And I think we want to give you the physical sanctuary in the vehicle, but then let's add to that by offering this mental place of sanctuary. And that's where the Calm partnership has been just wonderful for us, because it is really in line with that notion of well-being and revitalization and that power of sanctuary that we're really about at Lincoln. And then how can we find these partnerships and work with other brands that are doing that and have that same cause as we do, and align to feel that, we are actually all in the same path and giving everyone that same sort of benefit. And at first people said to me, they're like, well, meditate in your car, is that safe? And I was like, well, there are times where, as to your point, like before you get in your car and drive, or, actually I've been using it as a post day, my day becomes really, really stressful, and I have all these thoughts in my head, and I think to myself, I need a way to just bring it down a notch. And what's been happening now, because I'm working from home almost 100% of the time, we're not going back in our office, I need to find those ways of doing it where I may be in my car, but I may not be in my car. So I've been using that Calm app to give myself a daily meditation every afternoon around 5:30, 6 p.m., which turns into my commute. It turns into myself to wind down. And I actually use that little David right back there. And I just turn everything off, and I turn on the daily Calm feature. And it's about a 7 to 15 minute. You can find a few different options that really help me sort of disconnect. Otherwise, I'm moving from, my bedroom, my office to downstairs, and there's just no break in the life. And I need that break. So whether you're in your vehicle and doing that commute for a moment before you get going, before you hit start, put that app on, give yourself that 5-minute sort of reset. Or if you're home and you're not in your car, you have that ability to bring that into your home and use your phone or any other device to do that. But that is a really important ritual that I've found very helpful in this time, and that I think I'll carry through once I'm back in a more normal commuting environment.
A few points. I can see people are raising their hand. We are going to do questions at the end, so don't worry, we've left plenty of time. I also completely forgot to mention that we're giving away 5 Calm memberships during the session. And every car purchase, you get a Calm membership?
Every owner of a Lincoln. So it's
every owner. So even you don't have to buy a new car. You're Matthew McConaughey rolling over.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we've had folks that have had lovely, beautiful vintage cars, subsequent owners. Any vehicle you have, as long as you have a VIN, you can go into the Lincoln Way app, put your VIN in, and we will send you a link to the Calm subscription. So it's the normal premium subscription that is complimentary for a year to any Lincoln client.
That is fabulous. And I wanted to move on to something that you mentioned, Lori, and talking about the stress that other people bring into our lives and planning for how to manage that, which is another thing I realize I've never been intentional about. And thinking about it, you know, we can talk about how we teach people to treat us. Sort of, I'd like you to sort of give us the overview, and then talking about the Lincoln, how you figured that in. And my son, as I was explaining all this, he said, you know what they should do? Because when you got loud kids in the back, you should have one of those things that just goes behind you. I'm like, it's not a bad idea.
You know, it's not.
Like a stretch limo where you can just put the shield up between me and the kids, because that's the background noise and the demands and that can really get you off track. But outside of the vehicle, just in general, when you say we teach people how to treat us, talk to me about that.
It's about boundaries, right? It's about letting people get away with things that maybe we people please a little bit. You know, most of us as women, this is one of the things that we tend to do from time to time, because most of us are very nurturing by nature. It's just, we care, we want to give, we want to help people. It's just how we are, which is why we're so great. But also it can harm us too, because we don't necessarily hold our own boundary. And so that really starts with knowing where that is. You know, some people can handle a tremendous amount of stress. My sister has 3 boys and 2 big giant dogs, a Doberman and some lab pit mix, and she's constantly running around. I can't keep up, right? That is too much for me. And so going back to what Abby was saying and how the anxiety manifests into the body, I started getting some pretty bad back pain trying to keep up with that type of lifestyle. So I throttled back, right? For me, I have a 6-pound Chihuahua. That's about as big of a dog that I'm going to be able to handle, right? And so it's knowing where your boundaries are and then holding them, which is the hardest part because we're so afraid we're going to hurt people's feelings. But this is where we have to remember, you can't give what you don't have. And if you don't have that peace of mind, if you don't have a sense of balance in your own life, trying to help other people like your children, your family, the people you love and care about, it's not possible. So it's really important not to compromise with yourself at the end of the day.
I think that's such a good point. I always think of being a mom as The Giving Tree, the most depressing book that was ever written in the history of the world. But it's true. We will cut ourselves down to serve others. Right. And, you know, for me, it came to the point where, you know, I can't walk or drive, or, you know, I've wrecked a car because I'm not in my head, and trying to find how do I get that back in? How do I make the good habits? And maybe start with meditation, something I had honestly, when I think of meditation, I think of, well, I got to be floating in the blue lagoon.
No, don't do that ever again, Kimmery.
Never doing that. It was really awful, and it wrecked my hair. But thinking about meditating every day and setting expectations for your drive. Right.
And setting some expectations of what you won't compromise. And then holding that accountability for yourself, right? Because at the end of the day, it's all about you, right? Because we have to put ourselves first so that we can be there and show up as the best mother, the best daughter, the best sibling in all of the peoples we care about all of their lives. And what I think is interesting when we talk a little bit about buying a new car, a lot of times as women, we think, oh, I don't need a new car. You know, I'll give that to my kids or my spouse. I don't really need that. But we spend so much time in our cars, and companies like Lincoln are recognizing that this is a thing that women do and speaking to that. And I think that's really important to acknowledge, that it could be a confidence thing as why we're not buying the new car that we so deserve.
That is such a good point. That is a really good point. And I think we all here put ourselves first. I don't know how many people are able to do that.
Right.
That's a challenge, I would say, for most everybody. So inside the car, Seema, lacking a plexiglass barrier for the children, what sort of physical elements has Lincoln put in to help with calming everybody else down?
Yeah, so we are constantly working on it, right? So as I mentioned, we have this sort of welcome embrace. So the sequence, including some approach lighting and other features that really feel like, again, that warm greeting, that hug. You know, I just walked into your home and I feel instantly sort of welcome into your community or environment. And then really sort of that horizontal design, but then also working on elements coming up on things that are very important, I think, especially right now on auto air refresh. And I know my family lives in California, and many of my friends and good family are there, and that clean air filtration and getting into your vehicle and not feeling like you're breathing that external air and environment is so important. So that's a feature. More to come on the details about that, but that is a feature that will be coming up in one of our new products coming up in the Aviator in our next model year. So again, that sort of really clean breathing and filtration system, and having that in the vehicle will bring more of that, again, that cleanliness, that well-being, that sanctuary, and all of that is sort of pulled together in a really holistic, sort of feature experience.
One of the features we were talking about when we met earlier this week that I still can't get over is that the car lowers.
Oh yeah, this is
6 inches. Like that might be the best thing I've ever heard, because I always drive big cars because I have a lot of children and dogs and sports equipment, and I have to climb. I literally have to climb in them. And it's also a challenge when you've got toddlers, babies, anybody getting into these cars. It's not easy, and it's not comfortable. And I think that was, it just seemed groundbreaking to me, but so simple.
Yeah.
The things that are so simple to make life just a little bit easier.
Yeah, so the entire vehicle kind of comes down about 6 inches. So your ingress egress is really a lot easier. And it's interesting because I'm very tall in my family. I'm almost 6 feet tall. So I can get into a vehicle with some relative ease, but my mother is much shorter than I am. And she really appreciates that. My parents saw Lincoln, and she really appreciates the ability to get in and out in an easier fashion, because I think that was always her tension. She wants a vehicle that's higher up. She felt safety and she felt security by riding a little higher, but she had a difficulty from a reachability perspective and being able to get in and get out in an ease and sort of effortless way. So these are some of the things we think about, and bringing that effortless type of benefit to you, and not only in the features of the vehicle, but in the way in which you interact with us, using the Lincoln Way app to really be able to do some of the features like turning, remote start of your vehicle and that sort of thing. I mean, these are all things that we just want to make it one touch easy for you. We're constantly thinking about the entire experience, and not just what you see or experience in the vehicle, but even when you're out of the vehicle.
I was actually thinking about you, and then we're going to have to move to questions at 11:45, but the ability to use your cell phone as a key for the Lincoln. And I had to drive my husband and boys and dog to the airport, and they didn't fit in one car, so we drove 2 cars, and I left one at the airport for my daughter, and they don't have valet parking anymore because of coronavirus. So I parked her car, and I thought, I'm just going to stash the key and hope nobody goes looking. And it worked out fine.
Yeah.
But that's something that's just so intuitive to say, well, we can make life a little bit easier.
Exactly.
Less stress. We have enough stress in our lives without adding, losing keys.
Yeah.
Being able to get in and out of our cars, and, all of these other things. I think I'm just so intrigued by the lifestyle aspect.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's really about lifestyle. It's, we can think of a car or a vehicle as a commodity, of something that takes us from point A to point B in my mind, it's something I spend time in. Like I actually liked getting, right when coronavirus started and we were in quarantine, I just decided to jump in my car, and I just jumped in the car, put on my best music, and the speaker system's fantastic in the Lincoln with the Rebel audio. And I just drove nowhere, absolutely nowhere. But I just, to get that sort of feeling of getting out of the home, feeling like I'm going somewhere, even though I wasn't. But that is, to me, you know, part of like my life. That's part of my everyday existence. So how can we help build that lifestyle? Again, not only when you're in the vehicle, but also out, and things like the partnership with Calm and other things we're thinking about, but I can't talk about them yet. But
I want to hear
your lifestyle, the things you love to sort of, the culture and the passions and pursuits that you have, and how can we find ways to integrate with that so you see us as part of your lives?
It's so fascinating. Lori, any last minute tips for how to start new healthy habits? If I'm going to wake up tomorrow and decide to do something besides coffee and anxiety, which is clearly a bad habit. How do you tell clients, here's how you're going to start a new good habit?
Well, I love the quote by Aristotle that excellence is not an act, it's a habit, right? So we are what we repeatedly do over and over and over again. So start simple, right? Make it practical. 1 minute in your car before you drive. If you're working from home, 1 minute before you turn on the computer and start checking emails. And use the Calm app. They have some really short, easy meditations. Don't try to do it on your own. That's the other tip. A lot of time we'll try to meditate by ourselves and do the deep breathing, and it doesn't really work. We just get frustrated, to your point and your experience. So use the guided meditation like Calm offers, and just stick with it. Give it about 2 weeks. Try it for 2 solid weeks before you decide if you love it or hate it, and then evaluate how you feel. And what you'll notice is you just feel a little bit better, and you're not sure what it is. And you're like, oh, maybe it was that multivitamin I started taking. And it's actually because you've been meditating for just a couple minutes every day. It's fascinating how it works.
I really like that. I think we should all check in again in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
See if anybody did. I'm saying that personally for me so that I'm accountable. This is just you all helping me. So Scotty, how do you want to do announcing the winners? And
we have drawn some winners. Connie Peters is there in the background, and she has drawn the winners. But before we do that, I want to ask Seema a question.
Okay.
Because Calm is such a great bonus for owning a Lincoln, but there are other things that you guys do too. Do you want to give us a quick little list of some of the other sort of non-vehicular benefits of Lincoln ownership?
Yeah, sure. So we had started this a while ago, and we actually really think one of the, we constantly are thinking about not only the brand and what we stand for, but then how can we make our clients' lives easier? What's that effortless approach? And I mentioned that earlier, like what's that easy kind of seamless and intuitive way to sort of interact with us? And one of the features we're really, really happy about and our clients really love is our pickup and delivery option. So I'll give you a great personal real life example. My parents live in California, they're retired. My dad was getting ready to purchase a new vehicle, and I did my salesperson's best and got him into a Lincoln. But one of his pain points was that he lives in an area of San Diego, if anyone knows California very well. It's called North County, so it's closer to Carlsbad in that area. But the Lincoln dealer was down in sort of central downtown San Diego. And he's like, well, I don't want to drive 45 minutes every time I have maintenance or I have an issue with the vehicle. There's nobody close by for me to get that sort of service and work done. And I happen to know the dealer because I'd spent some time working in California. And he said, no, we have the pickup and delivery service. Our concierge will come in and get it for your dad. He will give you a rental while we're working on the vehicle, or a vehicle to use during the day. And so my father absolutely loved this. He thought this was really easy, seamless, effortless. He didn't have to do anything. He would actually get a phone call and they'd be like, Mr. Bardwaj, it's time to do a routine maintenance. Would you like us to come schedule the time? And it was so, so easy. So being able to do that, but now adding in features where we might be able to make those appointments through the Lincoln Way app and do it on your terms. So do you want to make a phone call? You can make the phone call. If you want to do it digitally with a sort of contactless environment, you can do that as well. So what is that way of making life as easy for you as possible? Because as you said before, Kim Marie and Lori, like, life is so busy and so complicated, and you've got kids and responsibilities and career and family life. How can we be a part of it and not make it harder for you, but make it easier for you? So it's services like that we really are happy to be able to offer as a benefit of being a Lincoln client.
And it takes the stress out of ownership. And honestly, I think one of the most stressful things about, and one of the reasons cars don't get maintained the way they should, is because trying to kind of shoehorn in those appointments, and they're not the fun ones, it's not like going to get your nails done.
Exactly.
Let's talk about the Lincoln Way app, because we have a question from a viewer who wants to know what kind of benefits does the Lincoln Way app, or help does the app have for road trip travel?
So great. It'll actually, so in addition to sort of helping you kind of lock or unlock your car, the remote start feature for me is personally great. I live in Michigan now. After 10 years in California, that was a little bit of a shift, but turning that vehicle on in the very depths of cold, so it's at a perfect temperature and perfect climate when I get in, can also be used when it's a very hot day, obviously, as well. But also giving you vehicle health warnings. So do you need an oil change? Is there a tire pressure situation? Because one of the things we really want to make sure we're doing is giving you some of these cues up front. So it's more about a preventative maintenance. So if we see that there's a tire pressure issue, we'll notify you so that you're not actually on the road and blowing out a tire, which is the worst, right? Nobody wants to be stranded on the side of the road. If we can find a way to give you that kind of warning several hundred miles before it's supposed to happen, all day long for me, all day long for me. So I think it's things like vehicle health, knowing when you want to get your oil changed, and maintenance on brakes and batteries and tires. That would be really great. And that's what we have as a benefit on the Lincoln Way app.
The Lincoln Way app, and also just the Roadside Assistance feature is phenomenal. And I will tell you, I had a flat in a Lincoln. From home, and it was amazing. I just called the 800 number. They contacted somebody to come and fix the flat. They kept checking on me to make sure.
Good. Yeah.
Myself, probably 100 miles from home, and they kept messaging me and calling the Lincoln team.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was so, had it been, late at night, or had it been my teenage daughter, or had it been, I felt like protected. I felt like my back was covered. Yeah. And that was a huge relief, because I knew who to expect. I knew what to expect. And I knew if things got weird, that that there was somebody there with me. So,
exactly.
And the guy that showed up was lovely, and he took care of it magically.
Yeah. No, that's our Lincoln concierge team. So there's a concierge team that is constantly at your beck and call, if you will, right? And really there to help you and stay online with you, if you will, online, offline, however you want to stay, connected, to make sure there's somebody always there with you. Because you're right, if this was a little bit more of a rural, remote area and you may not feel comfortable, you want to be able to speak to someone until you get that sort of help that you need.
Well, it was great. It was great, because if you've ever had a flat tire, it's that oh no moment where you think, I don't know what to do, because we don't like to think about those things.
No, right,
so
exactly.
We did have one more question from a reader, and I would love for Kim Marie and Lori to weigh in on this as well. And that is, I love my car to be a sanctuary, but it's really become a kid's car. And kids do that. They take over the space. So for all three of you, do you have suggestions on how people can make their cars more of a sanctuary and kind of take it back from the children?
Okay.
Unmute.
All right. So I'll take a stab at this one first, right? So it might help. So one of the things that kids love is yoga, right? And kids love meditating. They love to try these things, and it feels so good. So one of the things that you could try to start doing is making the car a sanctuary, right? So the car is where we go to have more of a quiet time and share some meditation. Get the kids involved with doing a meditation before you get started. And you might be surprised at how they start reacting and responding if you make it a habit. And that's the thing, is consistency. We all know that kids thrive in consistency. And so that's where you have to hold that line and keep repeating this new idea of the car being a sanctuary. Kim, I know you have some good experience with this one. What are your thoughts?
It is very hard to keep a car as your own. And I'll be honest, what I did was I bought another car. And I had the big SUV that was very much theirs. It had 2 DVD players and like it was for them. And I bought a 2-door Jeep. And they said, well, there isn't room for us in there. And I said, exactly, there is not. And I'm trying to find where is that space now where I can make things work for me and work for them. And we have a few rituals, and I like the idea of the meditation. We listen to books on tape, but then that's always a fight. What book are we going to listen to, and who gets to decide? Yeah. I love the idea of the meditation. My kids do like that, and they do like doing yoga. And this is going to sound, I didn't used to let the kids eat in the car because I wanted it to be clean. And then I realized that having snack bag in the car became this whole thing. And I keep snack bag, and they love contributing to what's going to be in the snack bag and knowing that it's in there so that when they're hungry or when they're thirsty, I don't have to pull over. I've got that for them in the car, and it has worked out well. For drunk friends, I was driving in LA and I had a pile of people. They'd been drinking, I had not, and they discovered snack bag. That's what they talk about now, is the snack bag. But it is about teaching people, to your point, Lori, how you want to be treated. And it's taking control of the space and saying, you know, this is what's allowed and this is what isn't allowed. This is my car. And one of the questions I saw in the app when I was going through it before this was women asking how they can get their husbands to let them be the driver. Men like to take over the driving. And I feel the same way. I prefer to drive. And that is something I think that really helps make a car your own, is you're the driver. There's only one captain, people. There's only one captain.
That's great advice, and I think I'm right there with you, Kim Marie. So we have some winners to announce for our 5 Calm apps. Congratulations to Alana Williams, Maria Moncayo Baez, Sarah LaFontaine, Beth Jurin, and Rachel Wisman. So thank you all for being here. Thank you, Kim Marie, Seema, and Lori for being here. I'm going to turn it over to Lori for a minute of mindfulness before we go into our next session talking about in-car sound and Rebel